Redditors who have gotten genetic tests. What's the weirdest thing you learned from your DNA? That I was ridiculously white. I've always been proud of being a moot. Not knowing a nationality, assuming I was a good mix. Looking Italian or a little olive-skinned. Having dark curly hair. My mother had a theory she was partly Jewish and it was convincing. After looking at me, my wife's grandmother warned her he's not white before she got married. Turns out I'm not Italian. I'm not any kind of Jewish that shows up on the tests. I'm from England, the Pyrenees, France, and Germany. 99.5 European. Ridiculously white from white places. I also found a first cousin. I was looking for siblings. My mom, apparently decided to sleep with her dad, my biological grandfather, and I'm the result. She tried to claim abuse, but her own brothers, all four of them, my godparents and my own grandmother, said that she would wear herself out to my grandfather to get her way. Not saying it didn't start as abuse when she was a kid, but it warped into a "I'll blow you if you let me take the car and go out" type thing. This was in the late 80s for context. I felt disgusted, but it's not my fault. My family is now broken. Not me, but my grandma got a DNA test done because she was sold as a baby and never knew her biological parents, so a family member urged her to do it so we could maybe find them. We found both sides, a half-sister from her bio mom and a half-brother from her bio dad. Although it was kinda weird to realize we have family close by, only 20 miles away in one case, it was much weirder for the bio families to discover my grandma's existence, since neither side had anything to do with the other. I was briefly Italian. Years ago, did no surprises at first, but I got an email months later saying they are always finding more about a person's DNA and that it updated. Sign in, and I was now 6 Italian. Didn't think anything of it. About a year goes by and I get another email saying the same thing. Signed in, and no more Italian. Wasn't fazed either way, but thought it was strange. I heard 23andMe is superior too, so maybe I'll try that at some point. My brother-in-law's great-great-granddad walked out of the woods into a colonial American settlement, a Cree warrior who had enough of his tribe and wanted to join the settlers. He founded a farm, married a girl, raised a family, often regaling the townsfolk with tales of his upbringing among the savages. My sister bought my brother-in-law a 23andMe kit for his birthday. % Native American DNA 0. An 18th century bullshit artist who got away with it for generations. It wasn't my DNA but my sister's. She showed as a possible relative match to a black woman in Maryland. My family is white. However, several generations ago we did have ancestors living in Maryland who owned slaves. I guess great-great-grandpa got busy. My DNA showed some Scandinavian ancestry. Prior to crossing the pond to the New World, my ancestors were primarily from Scotland and Ireland. Makes me wonder if an ancestor had a bad experience with a Viking raid. A good thing, actually. The woman my grandfather allegedly fathered out of wedlock. This is based on rumors after he passed, so he never heard about it. Has no relation whatsoever to our family. Turns out our bio fathers shared the same name and age as my grandfather, but they were born a week apart. I was the first to do the DNA test and thought for sure it would confirm our suspicions, but it exonerated my grandfather. That either my grandfather or one of his brothers fucked around while married, got a legit US spy pregnant just after World War II, and bailed out. She gave the baby to her sister to raise so she could keep her job. The baby didn't find this out until in his mid-40s. I found out thanks to and was able to at least connect the paternity dots partially for him. My mom always thought she was French. Like, all 4 grandparents only spoke French. She got the test and it came back, like, only 10 French and a bunch of other European and some Middle Eastern. It caused a bit of a family identity crisis. 3 weeks later she got an update that said, "Sorry about that, you're 99.5 French." Phew. My husband and I took those tests and his came back with something like 90 British, with a side note that most British people are 75 British. I spent a good couple of years teasing him about being more British than the Brits, and asking when he would take me to have tea with the Queen. It was great, lol. When my sister took one of those at-home tests as a gift from her husband, we learned our dad wasn't our biological father. Wished they had told us that before I was 26. Would have saved a lot of fights and reconciliation. Also learned I'll never know my bio father because he was murdered when I was in grade school. My ancestry is exactly what I grew up being told. I have several family members who are really into genealogy. But I found out I have a first cousin we didn't know existed. Apparently, My uncle had gotten married and had a son no one knew about when he was 19 and stationed across the country that he bailed on. That my dad is the most inbred Mormon royalty out there. I'm related to 12 of the 13 people who signed the front of the book. The first picture of Joseph Smith was found 2 years ago and I shrieked because he looks just like my dad, smiley face, crying face. Also my mom likes to say she's native now but she's just a racist boomer, persevering face. I'm too Jewish, even though my family has really large Hispanic heritage as well. Also, my mom never knew her dad but she has a large family in Louisiana who was aware of her and her kids, never reached out, lied on record when her dad passed away to gain access to his estate and is now being sued for it. 8 of my third cousin matches are from my cousin being a sperm donor. A couple of them reached out to me for information about their ancestors. So anytime I get a third cousin match I check and see if they are half brother or half sister to the ones that I know. He obviously had some good swimmers. I have the BRCA1 mutation. Pretty much guaranteed breast cancer. I have my first doctor appointment coming up, but it seems like this pretty much only ends in cancer or preventative mastectomy. And here I was with an adoptive father just trying to find my secret royal relatives. I have a genetic mutation that is so rare that I'm part of a study done at the National Institute of Health. Hereditary leiomyomatosis and renal cell carcinoma HLRCC. My grandparents had a biological son they gave up for adoption before my mother was born and never told any of us about. Turns out some of the extended family knew my grandma had been pregnant before my mom but kept it a secret. Not weird, but my best friend and I showed up as 5th cousins. We've been friends for over 20 years so it was hilarious and awesome when we connected and had a distant familial tie. We're officially family now. Hee 3. Either not a single person on my dad's side has participated in the same brand of genealogy testing as me or both my parents are related. Also my brother isn't my brother, he's actually my half-brother. 19 different ancestries. Owen thought I was half black, turned out to be a wee bit over a quarter. Little bit of identity crisis for about 5 minutes after finding out I was mostly white. I was 50 sure my birth giver was lying about paternity. Turns out that was one of the few things she was honest about. That and apparently we actually do have native ancestry. Nothing out of the ordinary of what I thought. Half European, half Arab. Specifically England, Ireland, Sweden, Scotland, Palestine, Egypt, Arabian Peninsula. German, Spanish, mostly, but the 16 Mesoamerican was a surprise. My sister believes it's from our grandfather who was very mixed. My last name is for sure a German name, but I'm barely German. And that as it turns out, this shit doesn't mean anything to me. I'm extremely white. My ancestry came back 51 German, 49 British. Yup, tracked with what we've been told over the years. There was a family rumor from my younger days that my great-grandmother was secretly a fan of spicy Italian sausage. Mine said I had a mysterious half-sister. The account used a fake name so I never figured out who it was. My family narrative has always been we're Irish with a little bit of Cherokee. We're German Italians. We're everywhere. I have thousands and thousands of close cousins according to the website. Not me, but my aunt found out after her parents died that she was not her dad's daughter. I'm more Italian than Irish. That was a surprise. I have a sensitivity to blood thinners. My ex figured out she had a half-sister in Canada. They got together. She wasn't great. That we were right all along and we are basically related to just about everyone. That I am literally 50-50 Canadian and Mexican. I'm the best of both borders. My grandparents are related in 3 different ways, all very distant luckily. That my parents were right, and I wasted money when I could just ask them. That I'm unlikely to have red hair. I have very red hair, BTW. I'm a tiny bit black. As an American, it's really not a surprise. Thalassemia affects those of Mediterranean descent. Makes sense. My asshole cousin was lying about our Native American heritage. More Scandinavian than I figured. Damn Vikings were everywhere. Great question, Op. It will be interesting to read the responses. My dad is whiter than most Europeans at 99.98 Scandinavian. I'm a carrier for a blood disease called hemochromatosis. Adopted, raised in a Catholic family. I'm 50 Jewish. I've got more Neanderthal DNA than like 80 of users.